I feel like sometimes we are not aware that we are surrounded by people in our lives that are in secret competition with us. This could be at a workplace, friends, sometimes the person you are dating, and for some people, even family. People that are comparing themselves to you, that see you as a threat. And in extreme cases, some people wouldn't even think twice of ruining your life or ruining your reputation just because they feel threatened by you, or maybe because they want to climb the ladder, even if you're not giving them any reason for it. And that's okay. I feel like that's just how the world is. And I feel like most times we can just cut that person out of our lives and move on. But in some cases, that person is our coworker, and we need to work. We need to, we need money to live, and that's when it can get tricky. I had this experience with this coworker in the first half of 2024. I had this new job, and I was super excited about it. But this coworker, I'm telling you, I never experienced this type of competitiveness and this corporate politics that I've never experienced in my life in any other job. And that's the thing, whenever it's a coworker, you might feel like there is no escape from it. And but there are some boundaries we can take. I previously made videos about gossip and projections, and I feel like this topic of competitiveness and competitive people, it's not unrelated to the other topics of gossip and projections, because I feel like the energy that I'm going to talk about, it's kind of the same type of energy, this mean girl energy that would stab you in the back and kind of want to get information from you to later use it against you. It's this type of energy that I want to talk about. I really want to just give my insights about this type of energy that I was feeling it in a lot of people. And I feel like a lot of the times we are not aware that we have these type of energies in our lives, that we are surrounded with this type of people, and we are not aware of how much it is affecting our lives. And at this point in my life, I remember, I feel like I realized this. I mean, it was like so in my face. It was the first half of 2024, so 2 years ago. But I was seeing it in this coworker happening in my workplace, but it was also happening in my circle of friends. I don't even want to call friends, but like the people that I was surrounded myself with in like a social environment. And I feel like a lot of the times people that have this competitiveness, this competitive energy, and I'm not only saying like competitive, like, oh, I just want to be the best. It's like, I'm going to throw this person under the bus if I'm threatened by them. You know what I mean? This type of energy, like people comparing themselves to you. And I feel like people that behave this way, this is their shadow, and they're not even, I mean, I feel like most times they're not even aware of this. But I mean, I feel like some people know. I mean, I know some people that are very aware of this part of themselves, but they're not gonna do any work to change that. And maybe they just love being this way. I don't know. So yeah, at this time I was starting this new job, and I was super excited. I was finally having the opportunity to work in interior design and in residential architecture, that it was what I wanted to do at that time. And this job was basically like, it was kind of like the start of everything that I thought I really wanted. And I was getting, this company was gonna sponsor me to stay in the US. And I don't know, it was just like so many things that I wanted so bad in my life. But yeah, it was like years that I have been in this instability about my visa situation and if I was gonna be able to stay in the US or not. And yeah, I was finally getting all the things that I wanted, but at the same time, I was becoming so miserable in my life. I was putting this job on a pedestal, and it was all the things that I thought I really wanted. In this company, I remember I was learning so much. I was learning so much about classical architecture and just like going in depth in like the details of the architectural details, and I was learning so much from really amazing people. And like the person that was sitting next to me, she was amazing and so super nice. She was such a good person. But I had this other coworker, and I liked him in the beginning. I thought he was funny, but this is why I mean we should never positive project. I feel like sometimes I learned it the hard way, to be honest. At that point in my life, I was so open to people, and so I feel like sometimes we learn the hard way that we are just positive projecting onto the world, and we cannot just approach this world without we need some boundaries. We need some boundaries. And this coworker, it's an amazing example of this competitiveness. This I'm gonna throw you under the bus if I need to because I want to climb the ladder and I feel threatened by you, and I'm gonna kind of get information from you and use it later against you because I feel threatened by you. This was the type of energy that I was experiencing. I feel like there were also some other people in my life that I was seeing the same energy. And that's the thing. I feel like this is me saying this. It's just we should be very interested in exploring this type of energy. It was not only in the workplace, I was also experiencing in this friend group. And I feel like these are the opportunities that we have, that instead of victimizing ourselves and saying like, oh, why am I attracting these people into our lives, we should ask like, what what are the parts within ourselves that need to be healed, that keeps attracting this type of energy, because it's like the same type of energy just through different people. And I remember when I started working in this company, we didn't really talk much. I really thought this guy was funny and I liked him in the beginning because he didn't try anything weird yet. But yeah, but I remember later he told me, by the way, in this company, the majority of the people in the company were gay or like not straight, you know? And he told me that he thought that I was straight. And he told our boss, I'm going to get into projections here as well. He told our boss that he said, I don't want any hate crime here, before he met me. And that's the thing. I'm also gonna talk a lot about projections in this video because I feel like this is what happened whenever I started working here. This guy had already projected an idea of who I was. I'm gonna talk about why it's so dangerous to project so much on someone you don't even know. I want to talk about this coworker that I had because I feel like whenever we are gay, we experience more trauma than the average person. And I feel like this is the reason why we need to heal. We've been carrying all this stuff, and this guy is a perfect example of this, you know. If we don't heal, we're gonna carry all this trauma and like projecting this view onto the world and just making judgments and assumptions onto other people based on how they look, how they appear to you. I remember I felt very judged in the beginning. Like whenever he said this to me, I thought I just laughed it out and I thought it was funny. I didn't really take it that seriously, but the situations that happened later, it was like so clear. But yeah, he was seeing me as a threat. I remember one time in the office, he was just talking with us, with other coworkers, about this new roommate that he had, and this straight roommate. And he said that he overheard him saying something really homophobic. And I thought it was interesting how if you're very wounded about the world, you're gonna project, you're gonna be on your guard, and you're gonna attract situations in your life that are just gonna confirm the reality you have about the world, you know? And this is why it's so important to heal. We carry a lot of shame that it's not even us, you know? Like, we carry in this world like so many projections from other people that we experience in childhood that tells us that we should be ashamed of who we are, you know? But anyways, I feel like sometimes gay people, like, we are in the world and we experience this world not feeling safe because in most places we are not. But yeah, I remember I started working in this company in February, and in March it was his birthday, and he invited me to just like his birthday, and later they said they were gonna go out, and I said I couldn't go because I had another birthday. And later we we ended up in the same venue, and this was kind of like it was kind of like a circuit party that everyone is basically shirtless, and this guy was the only person that was not shirtless in the entire venue. And I saw him, and I came up to him, and I told him like happy birthday. By the way, I was high, and I feel like that's the thing. Yeah, I later started having like a party boy reputation in the office, and that's the thing with like coworkers and things like this. It can get tricky because especially if you're dealing with very competitive coworkers. Like I remember later, this like woman in like human resources. I remember my life became super stressful with all the visa, which I was very grateful for it, but my life just became like work, visa, like no enjoyment, you know? It became really like there was so many documentations that I had to do for the visa, like letters, all of this. And at one point it was like a lot of work that I had to do. And she said like you have to do it like no partying, she told me. And I thought it was funny, but like the thing is like after this experience with this coworker, I started gaining like a reputation of like a party boy. And but yeah, the thing is in this type of spaces it's normal to be shirtless and to even like being high. It's not it was on a Friday night, you know, it's not like a weekday or anything. But anyway, he was also high by the way. But yeah, I remember I talked to him on Monday, and I said like, "How do you have fun?" And like we had like this small talk, and he was like, he told me, "Yeah, but I prefer other type of parties. You know, like I prefer Lebain, which is a different type of party and like different environment." And he looked at me and he was, "I prefer like Lebain, you know, because it's nice because people are actually wearing clothes." You know, like that very like shady comments. I feel like whenever you're in a vulnerable place in your life, you internalize all of this. But yeah, I was internalizing whatever all of these projections he was giving to me. The way that this guy feels threatened by me, and that's the very interesting thing. Some people are threatened by you in the whenever you're at a low point in your life, whenever you're in a vulnerable point, whenever you're not even at your best, and they're like comparing themselves to you, and they are threatened by you whenever you're not even at your peak or at your highest. You know, that to me is crazy. You are like in survival mode, but they're still comparing themselves to you. To me, that's crazy. So yeah, this next story that I'm going to talk about is the first time that I ever experienced this like corporate politics. And yeah, I remember me, this coworker that I'm gonna talk about, and other two coworkers, we had this like design event on a it was on a Friday after the office, and we had to go through like different design. It was like showrooms basically. It was very cool. It was in like I think it was in Soho or Noho. I don't remember exactly, but I remember before going to this event, we stopped at a furniture store and we just started drinking some coffee, and we were just sitting in the basically in the store, and we were talking about the future of the company, some of like we were going to be in a magazine and like just like these normal topics that you would talk about at a company, you know. And we started talking about this project that I started working on, and the majority of the work in this company, they do like very high end luxurious projects, and this project was like a kind of like a cabin, um more like rustic type of project, but it was like very cool and I really liked it. We were having this conversation and I mentioned in the whenever I was with these coworkers, I mentioned that I didn't like some of the design decisions for this project, and I mentioned that I didn't like some of the kind of like the decisions that they use for like the color of the carpet. They chose like a kind of like a green, like very like kind of like a very bright green for the carpet, and I didn't like some of the design decisions, and I like the project as a project, you know, as a architectural project. But I didn't like some of the design decisions. There were many other projects. I said that I should just work on other projects that I feel like I agree in the design decisions, you know. And after this event, after this Friday, apparently this guy had told our boss what I said about this, and he took it totally out of context. Basically, he told him that I thought this, that I was very basically like too good to work on this like cabin, like rustic project. I'm too good for this. I only wanna work in like a very luxurious residential, you know what I mean? But like it was not the case at all. And I remember the next week I went to the office and we were talking about something, and this my boss gave me like a very passive aggressive comment, and he was like, "Okay, next time tell me what you think." You know? And I was so annoyed with this coworker. Like, and I told to my boss, like, I told my supervisor, like, I gave my opinion, and like, and I feel like that's the thing about working in a company and something. It's not only like saying yes sir, doing whatever. It's like also giving your opinion, speaking what you want to speak, you know. And after this experience, I was like, they took it totally out of context, you know. And there was nothing against that project. I only said it because I thought there were other design decisions that, in my opinion, make the project better, you know? But I was also like, not, I mean, I had like a supervisor, and like, and I also understand if like, I'm just like an employee, you know? But this coworker, he had totally like stabbed me in the back just, and it wasn't even what I said, you know? But anyway, but yeah, this was like one of the things he said. Later, he had started doing more and more. But yeah, this coworker, it's the perfect example of the teacher's pet, you know, telling stuff to the boss, want to get like really tight with the boss so he could go like higher up in the company, and yeah, basically like throw anyone under the bus just to if he feels that they're a competition. And I wasn't the only one that he was doing this. Like there was also this person that they were gonna hire, and he was saying all this stuff about this person so that they wouldn't hire him. And he's just like this like defensiveness, you know. It's like feeling threatened by other people. But yeah, this was the first 2 months in this company, and I was like, with the visa and everything that I was starting to do, I was like, I have to be 2 years in this company. Like, I don't know if I can do this, you know? And that's the thing. After this experience, I was like, what the, you know? Like, I had experienced my first, like, corporate politics, you know? And that's the thing. Like, then I started to, I mean, you kind of like start to shrink yourself, you know? Like, even in your workspace, you're experiencing this, like, your boss kind of is starting to change the way he sees you because of this coworker, you know. And whenever you were just being honest and speaking up about like design decisions, and you just giving your opinion, which is normal in the workplace. And yeah, and then you start like shrinking yourself. And And that's the thing. When things like this start to happen, we tend to kind of hide ourselves. We become more insecure, more vulnerable. We are starting to be more overwhelmed. But this is crucial. It's crucial to stay even more present. When you start experiencing these things and these type of behaviors, this like competitiveness that from people that have distorted lenses on the world and that are kind of feeling threatened by you. This is crucial. We have to stay present, and it's so important to speak out, to whenever we experience this like weird thing, we say what we mean. Because otherwise, if we're not present, we're just gonna speak whatever thing the other person needs think of us. This is why I always talk about this, being in your own frame of reality, not taking those projections as your own. But yeah, I think this type of behavior, it's something we need to talk about. This also comes with, I want to talk about this energy of like people that want to say something to you so that you say something, and kind of like they later can use it against you. It's like this type of calculated game that I want to talk about, that is this, even like saying something so that you say something back and they use that information against you. Yeah, there were some situations that he said that I feel like he was expecting me to say something about it, so that he could use it against me. I don't know. I i just started to notice this stuff. But yeah, I really want to talk about this type of calculated game that they play, that so that we can become aware of this type of behavior, that we see it in. Yeah, I mean, I feel like sometimes we're not aware that we are having these type of energies in our lives. And he was not the only person that I knew that had this type of energy. I also knew other people, more than you would imagine, in the friend group that also have this type of behavior. It's kind of like this scammy, like they want to say this to you so that you say this back, and that they kind of like stabbing you in the back. You know what I mean? And yeah, I mean, there was some stuff that he would say that I don't know. I mean, I feel like if he sees me as this like internal, like a guy with internalized homophobia, that I don't know what I don't know what's in his head. But he would also say like, "Oh, I'm watching you RuPaul. Do you like RuPaul?" And like all of this, and like I don't watch RuPaul. And I've seen, I remember there was some friends that used to like it, and I seen like some episodes, and I thought it was entertaining. I would never like watch it at home or like decide to watch it for myself. But I feel like he was like testing you of what you would say, so that he would use it against you later. Like for example, he also said that this is the type of stuff that he would say something so like you would say something back about it. And he said that he told our boss that he should do weed gummies, like marijuana gummies, for like before an interview, so he would feel more comfortable. And I knew he was testing me so that I would say something and he would say like use it against me. And he knew, that's the thing, he knew that I used to smoke weed. Later I'm gonna talk about it. Actually, I was open about how I smoke weed sometimes, at that time. And YouTube, please don't cancel this video. This is only for educational purposes only. But yeah, it's like this type of behavior that they want to use what you said against you later. It's type of this like manipulated game that they play. But yeah, later he started giving me this attitude. One time I remember he told me like, with one of the projects that I was working on, he told me like, this project better be ready by September. And I was like I later told kind of like the supervisor, like the HR woman, and I said like, You can tell me that. Like you can tell me that, you can tell me that. Our boss can tell me that. My supervisor even can tell me that. They can tell me that. But him, like, he cannot tell me that. He's like in marketing. Like, and I told her that, like, he's not allowed to talk to me like that. But yeah, he started giving me like attitude after. I really see interactions like this as better opportunities for us to become better at setting boundaries and of respecting ourselves. But yeah, I remember after he backstabbed me so bad with my boss in the design event, which wasn't even, that's the thing, it wasn't even like, he took something way out of context. And but I remember I had to go to another like design event with the same coworkers, him too. And I remember I couldn't go. I just couldn't fake it. It was like my entire body was like, don't go. And I remember I told the kind of like a supervisor, I told her like, I don't feel well, like I cannot go. And this was right after office, and I just couldn't deal with that again. And yeah, the thing is that I have been working on a previous job there in New York also for like 2 years and a half. And I had never experienced something like this. Like this type of coworker that they just wanna backstab you, that they see you as a threat. I never experienced anything like it. But yeah, like I was shocked, to be honest. And that's the thing. People don't realize how damaging it can be to project onto other people, and this having this like gossipy, just distorted lenses of how you see someone, and you gossip about it, and you are changing. You're basically poisoning that person's reputation, and you're changing the way in how so many other people see that person. But honestly, I don't even know if this coworker is still having this like same toxic, gossipy, backstabbing energy even now. I don't know. I have no idea. But it can be so damaging to other people. And I know other people experience these things, especially in cities like New York. I always heard people saying New York, it's such a competitive city. And I always like was like, yeah, like it's very competitive, but I meant like very like, I thought it was more like salary competitive, like this. But there's really competitive people there. Like people that would like throw you under the bus to get ahead. And I never really paid attention to people telling me this until this time. To me, this was like so obvious. Like there, people like this exist. And I know that this type of games and this type of dynamics that people do this, like I know it's not super uncommon. Like I know other people that have dealt with this type of energies, but yeah, we shouldn't normalize this. But yeah, I feel like some people that you have around, anything you said, they would take it as like if you're competing with them or if you want to take their place. I have no idea what's going on in their heads. But I remember we were just talking about, he said that we might get a job with this hotel, like we would do this hospitality project. And I thought it was like, that's amazing, like, and I said that my dream was always to work in like a hotel project, like a hospitality project. And he said, our boss's name, like him, his dream was to work in a hotel project. Like he was like instantly comparing myself to my boss. But see what I mean? I never meant it that way. What I said was that my dream was to work in a hotel project. I don't like, I'm not saying like, oh, I'm gonna take over, but like he sees you as this way. He sees you that like as a threat for the company, for everything. And you're only gonna reflect that back to them. You only confirm to people their beliefs they already have of you. That's why you need to be so present. But yeah, I mean, this. And I also think that you should never play their game. You should be the better person and just limit your interaction with them. Small talk. Small talk is beautiful. After working in this company, I was like, small talk, it's really nice. talking about topics like weather. Yeah, it was super nice weather this weekend. Beautiful. I miss that, honestly. With my previous job, it's just better to keep things private, you know? Some people don't have the best intentions. But yeah, I remember at this time also I was very, even though I was experiencing a lot of hardships, you know, it was like a lot of work that I needed to do with the visa and everything. I was very grateful for the company for sponsoring me, and they got me a lawyer. And I remember I was applying for the H1B. It's kind of like a lottery. So I feel like you have like 1 out of 4 chances or something like that. And one time in the office, they told me that I got rejected. And I was like, yes, you know, like, yes, like I'm not gonna have to deal with this for 2 years, you know? That's the first thing that came to my mind. And and they told me like, but don't worry, we're gonna put you on a different visa. Don't even worry about it. And I was like, you know, like I had to be around this coworker for 2 more years. I couldn't imagine that, you know. But yeah, this type of toxic environment really affects you. I remember we one day we were talking about zodiac signs in the office, and I remember I'm a Gemini, by the way, and I remember this like HR woman. She had a Gemini song that she always complained about. and, but yeah, I remember this coworker later said, like, after I said that I'm a Gemini, he said, "Oh yeah, you should ask someone's zodiac sign before you hire them." And that's the thing. I feel like sometimes people just perceive you in this way, and there's no, you are kind of like this slave of these projections, you know? But yeah, whenever you're working in an environment like this, you absorb everything, you know? All of this type of dynamics and everything, like it affects your reality. And I remember I felt exhausted. I was feeling exhausted. And the thing is that I don't get exhausted as much based on the work, like the amount of work, more like in these social interactions that just exhausted me, you know? I remember even after this experience, after this first half of 2024, I had to recover myself socially. I was socially burned out. And during this time, I had to start therapy. I had never done therapy before, and I had started to do this because I needed it. The thing is, like, you're working in an environment where people don't see you in a good light. People are projecting onto you. They're projecting onto you this kind of like, if you're this guy that has like internalized homophobia and it's kind of evil, and it's like this Gemini that it's like two side, you know, like all of these projections. And you were, but yeah, I started doing therapy, and it wasn't the best therapy I could ask for, but I needed to talk about it, you know, like I needed to vent. And yeah, it was like only like a 30-minute talk that I used to do like 2 3 times a week. Later back home, I got a really good therapist. But yeah, I don't know, I feel like to me going to work felt like hell, you know, because I have to deal with like these type of energies, you know. And at this point, also became really addicted to ketamine. I i have done ketamine in like party environments, but at this point it got really bad. I remember I used to do it every morning and right after I came back from work. But yeah, it was like I was using it as an escape. It was the only time that I could find peace, you know. And that's the thing. I was like trying to escape from my reality. But yeah, I just wanted to disassociate myself from all of this, you know? And that's the thing. When your life really gets to like a very low point, we tend to find an escape for it, you know? And ketamine was my escape at that time. And I also used to do more weed. It became like this very toxic cycle. I remember I started doing weed before going to sleep so I could go to sleep. And in the morning, because I had to wake up really early to work on like the visa and all of it, I used to take like a big Americano, so that I could kind of handle the day. And but yeah, I remember it became like this really toxic cycle of like weed at night, a lot of coffee in the morning, and just repeat. And later I knew this had to stop. So yeah, I felt like I needed any help to stop this addiction, because I feel like the ketamine one became an addiction after. But I had to stop. But yeah, this whole situation was not healthy for me. And I just couldn't stay 2 years in this company because we were doing all the documentation, all this work that I've been putting to get the visa, and staying in an environment like this for 2 years. And I was not even exhausted by the amount of work. I was exhausted by the social interactions, this type of dynamics. I was not used to it in to deal with this in like a work environment, and it really affects you. This coworker, for example, you're dealing every day with people that don't see you in a good light, that are projecting onto you, that are gossiping about you, backstabbing you, and are playing this like manipulative game. And yeah, and it's like affecting how other people in that same environment, which in this case is like the workplace, are seeing you, and you're only confirming their beliefs they have about you. So yeah, I remember around this time they were gonna hire this new person from another interior design firm. And it's someone we all knew because it was like in right next to the office. And he was saying, this coworker that I'm talking about, he was saying how he was telling our boss that he was not the profile that the company needed, that he was basically bringing all this personal stuff from his life. He was basically saying that he drank too much on the weekends, that he just partied too much on the weekends. But I knew what he was doing. He's kind of like bringing this stuff, so he feels threatened by him. I don't know why he was being so defensive about his position. Like, I never wanted to take his position or anything. I had no desire to, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's all projection. Yeah, he was saying all of this stuff that he was saying to our boss, all these reasons why we shouldn't hire him, because all these things that he was talking about his personal life, he was awful. But yeah, I remember it was on a Monday. This coworker was not with us, but we had a meeting with a client, and basically we took an Uber to go to this architecture firm. And when the Uber dropped us, I was talking to my boss, and he was asking me, "How are you doing? What have you been up to?" And I was like, "I'm good. It's just I've been a little bit stressed about the visa and everything." And I told him that I mentioned, I don't know how it came up, but I mentioned that I had started to do therapy because I was like very stressed about all of this. But yeah, I don't know how this came up, but after me mentioning like this, going to therapy, he basically asked me my zodiac sign, and I told him that I was a Gemini. And he basically like I remember we were walking in the street, passing the street, and he said, "I know all about you. Hay un Augusto oscuro y un Augusto blanco," which means like, oh, there's a dark Augusto and a light Augusto. And he said that I'm married to a Gemini, and also this other supervisor, he's also married to a Gemini. I know all about you. He basically said this to me, and after that, I was just thinking, what am I doing here? Like, what am I doing here? Even my boss, like now he sees me with like this distorted lenses, and it all started this is what I mean. It starts like a snowball. Someone that really sees you with see you in a bad light, and the gossip and just talking about you, making assumptions based on how you look, what you say, and then you project that onto people. I was like, what am I doing here? Like 2 years working in a company where they see me in a good light. Like, what am I doing here? So, so yeah, I remember I was later that day. I called my mom and I said that I was like thinking about going back home. I had no other escape. I just didn't feel safe here. And yeah, I remember the next day I went to the office and I told my boss like I'm gonna take care of my mental health, but I need to leave the city. I need to quit and leave the city. And he was like, "Don't worry, like take care of your mental health." And yeah, and I remember my boss was not there that day, but I remember the next day he came to the office and I knocked on his door, and I remember he was very he was passive aggressive about my decision. And yeah, basically he told me like, what are you gonna do, where are you gonna go if you're not in New York? And I told him like, I feel like if you're great you can be great in many places. There's not, you don't have to be only great in New York, you know. But yeah, I was also telling him that I was also experiencing this type of energy in my friend group with these like very competitive people and people that are just like social climbers that would just throw you under the bus just to, I don't know, if they feel threatened by you. And he was telling me like, oh yeah, you need to be really careful in like a city like this that have a lot of like social climbers. And I didn't say it, but like it's like, yes, in this office, in this same office, you know. But I didn't tell this about my coworker because I wanted to leave this office environment in the best possible terms, you know. I didn't want to like, I have a cramp now. I didn't want to talk about this like coworker, and I didn't talk about this coworker. I'm mentioning stuff about him, but I never like really said that he was one of the reasons why I wanted to quit. But but yeah, um, but yeah, I don't know if he can even see it. You know, I feel like, I don't know, like I feel like this guy, like this very competitive coworker, he was like the teacher's pet. So I don't know, I don't really know if like my boss was seeing all of this and was seeing this type of behavior that he was having. But yeah, I remember after quitting my job, I stayed there for like 2 more weeks after telling them. I feel like you have this like 2 week period and then you leave. But yeah, I remember I was so exhausted. I couldn't even, I mean, I had to go back home to Paraguay. And if you know me, the last thing I want to do is like to go back home to Paraguay. I just don't I just don't feel happy there, you know? But I had no other escape. And and there were so many projections that came after it like, "Oh, he's coming back to Paraguay. He's basically running back to the closet," you know? Like people making all of these assumptions, but anyway, people can believe whatever they want. But basically, like, I really wanted to, from New York, just go to a new city, you know, start again, you know. But I was feeling so exhausted, and I knew I needed to heal. And yeah, I went back home, but yeah, I was too. There were just like so much trauma that I couldn't just go to a new city. I had to time take time to heal, you know. Leaving New York was to me one of the hardest decisions I ever had to make. And I honestly, I mean, I had no escape, you know. It's not like I wanted to go back home to my family, but I had no other option back then. And it was what I had to do. But it was like my entire body told me, like, you cannot stay here, you know, you have to leave. And the thing is that I was not experiencing this same type of energy, like this competitive energy that just see you as a threat and basically wants to, would not care, would not think twice of ruining your reputation, ruining your life just because they feel threatened by you. But I was also feeling this same type of energy from people in my friend group. And yeah, these like betrayals and like backstabbing and giving you this mean girl energy and wanting to say stuff so that they can take information from you, want to hear your response to use it later against you. All these things that, I mean, the good thing is that now I'm so aware of all of this. But yeah, I was experiencing this in like same energy, different people. And yeah, you cannot stay in environments that they don't see you in a good light, you know. You cannot be surrounded yourself with people that are jealous of you. And Yeah, to me the craziest thing is that I was not even like in my best, you know. I was vulnerable, I was kind of struggling, I was very overwhelmed, I was not even like in my peak, you know. And people are still competing themselves to you and like seeing you as a threat and like kind of, yeah, like thinking about ways to ruin you, kind of, you know. It's so weird. But I really, today I'm really aware of this type of manipulative, calculated energy. And I have another cramp. Yeah, I remember I also had, I experienced this, I was experiencing this same thing with a roommate. And it's like this same type of behavior that, and this was also, it was so weird, but like him, for example, he wanted other people to start perceiving me in a different way, you know? And with this kind of like the similar stuff, like I feel like some people just feel threatened by you, and it's just what it is, you know? It is just what it is. And and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. I remember I remember with this roommate, we used to talk about how I remember like we used to, I mean, to be completely honest, I used to see this roommate as family. I used to root for him. I truly love him, you know? And this guy was just seeing me as like, as a threat, you know? Like later I became aware of this, but I remember one time we were talking about what we started doing is that whenever we were in the gym, we didn't go to the same gym, but we started like listening to just one entire artist the whole time we were in the gym. This is what actually when I became really like a fan of Madonna, you know? Madonna was an artist that I never really pay attention, but after like me hearing like an entire workout session just Madonna, I became a huge fan of Madonna. but but yeah, like this, the funny thing is that I this was also like a person that like you're living with him, you know, so you're becoming, I became really, I mean, I told him everything, you know, and and yeah, I remember I told him that I was also becoming like starting to in this spiritual journey, you know. I really became aware of like the type of music that I was listening because it really goes into your subconscious. And I made a playlist called Lyrics, which is basically like all the like I have a cramp again. Um, but yeah, I remember I do have like cringy songs, you know. I have like, I mean, like you would see "The Climb" by Miley Cyrus. Okay, that's not even like cringe, you know, but like "The Greatest Showman," you know, like things like that. But I was telling him that, and I don't know why we were talking about Hilary Duff and Lizzie McGuire and like this, like very like hopeful songs, like this is what dreams are made of, you know. I didn't have any of these songs in my playlist, but then I started like seeing his game. I started like becoming aware of the type of kind of competitive game that he plays, and it's like manipulative, and wants to he wants other people to start seeing you in a specific way. And to me it's very interesting. Like I really pay attention to this behavior that he has, and I feel like a lot of people played the same game. There was another gay friend that we had that was coming to our apartment, and he before he came he started to play Hilary Duff, like Lizzie McGuire. And before he came, kind of like I don't know, like if he wanted to tell people that I like this type of stuff. And to be honest, like you can embarrass me with like other stuff that I like, you know, but I don't even like Hilary Duff or Lizzie McGuire. Nothing against her, it's just like not really my specific taste. But anyways, but before he came here, he started to play like Hilary Duff and Lizzie McGuire, and I was like, this is kind of weird, but I'm seeing what you're doing, you know. And I listened to a lot of like rock, punk pop, you know, like A Day to Remember, Psalm 41, Paramore. Like I love this type of music. But and I used to listen to it in the shower and all of this, you know? Like I feel like that's when you live with someone, they just like start to seeing all of this about you. But it's very interesting. I started to notice his behavior because and in the shower later, like I see him like playing like Linkin Park and all of this now, and I'm like, please, you know, like that's the thing that, and it's something that I feel weird talking about it, but there's people that kind of want to have you close so that they become you. It's so weird. And I feel even weird is and I feel even weird saying this, but like they kind of feel intimidated by you and they are in like this secret competition with you, and but they are at the same time they want to like be you. You know what I mean? And they want to keep you close, and it's like keeping an enemy close. You know what I mean? And it is and like it's such a weird dynamic. But yeah, he would also like try to say some stuff to me to try to get to my head and try to make me feel insecure about myself and of my body, and like and it's not just this energy that they want to have you close and they want to imitate you, or that they want to have you close so that they can, I don't know, it's but I experienced this and it's weird. But yeah, it's just not this energy that they want to imitate you or wanting to kind of become you, but it's also like I feel like they want to have your energy, and I feel like sometimes people don't realize that if someone is vibrating really high and or if someone really had really good energy, it's because they had to go deep into darkness, you know? I feel like sometimes people just want to have what another person have, but they have no idea what it took that person to have that energy, you know, because they saw that I was doing acid and doing mushrooms, and I also was very open about it and I used to talk about it. But yeah, I don't know, like later I remember I saw this friend and another friend too, like they were starting doing acid, you know, and I was like, I'm happy for you, I'm happy you're doing acid, but I don't feel like you know what you're getting to, you know. I feel like people just want to have your energy and they want to just kind of vibrate the way you do, but it comes with like a lot of shadow work, you know. You have to go into the depths to release a lot to be that way, you know. And yeah, I remember right after I left New York, I remember I saw them like doing acid, and I'm like, that's great, but like I don't feel like you know what you're getting into, you know. But yeah, my takeaway with all of this, it's sometimes it's really nice to have your private life private, you know. Don't just be too open to everyone and just telling your personal life. And yeah, and like I feel like in a setting like a workplace, I feel like it's better small talk, it's nice, you know. Yeah, just limiting conversations with, if you have that coworker that just wanna that feel threatened by you, to limit your interactions with them and just keeping it in a very superficial level. And if it's a roommate, just sometimes it's better not to be so close with your roommate, you know, and having your life so intertwined. I mean, we have kind of like the same type of friend group and in like the same social spaces. It was just not, it wasn't nice. But yeah, I hope this video resonated with you. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I wanted to make this video to just bring more awareness into this like competitiveness and this very competitive people and this type of behavior, so that we're aware of it and that we don't fall into their traps, you know. So yeah, if you like this video, consider to like and subscribe for more. We'd love to have you around, and keep it up. Peace.